Lilacs, Boba Fett, and Never Getting What I Truly Want. A Travel Story by Grayson Ferguson. I want to show you something. Stepping from the shadows of century-old government buildings, we cross into sunlight. The vibrant green grass of the adjacent park replaces the cold gray cement. I don't know if my mom notices, her gaze locked on Teatro Colón, its elegant stone columns and ornate relief sculptures. She takes in the bronze statues of historical figures we don't know, chuckling at the one with a pigeon sitting atop its head. I motion to an unassuming building, away from the history of government and the prestige of performance. A slender, white stone building with a single black door in the middle, offset by circular windows on each side. The door and windows repeat for the next 5 stories until the elegant construction concludes in a curved peak. Modern buildings of all glass bookend the white and black tower, squeezing against it. As if I returned in a decade, the building would be taller and thinner. This is my favorite building in the city, I tell my mom. It reminds me of the 101 Dalmatians house. She laughs and agrees. I don't know if she sees what I see, though it doesn't matter. I have less than 2 weeks a year with my mom. I like to hear her laugh. I wish I could see her smile more. An aroma of lilacs lingers. I don't notice any bushes, but the smell persists all the same, as do the memories of childhood and collecting flowers from bushes in our backyard. I snapped and twisted clumps of lilacs free, to slip into vases stored under the kitchen sink, to give Mom all the shades of purple I could find. I do not say anything now as we walk. I want to hold on to the moment for as long as I can. Ahead, the Obelisco, a representation of Argentina, where it's been and where it's going. It's protected by 24 lanes of traffic. Islands with old fountains and even older trees split up the massive avenue every several lanes. We wait as tourists disembark a yellow double-decker bus to our left. The crosswalk sign gives us the go-ahead. On my own, I might jog, to try and cross the expanse in one light. Had my mom visited a few years earlier, we might still try. But not now. We take our time. In elementary school, she was a crossing guard, stopping traffic for children to cross. At that age, I was embarrassed. I'd duck and look away after class, opting to walk home instead of waiting for a ride. I don't know why. Everyone knew her. Maybe not her name, but they knew her as the crossing guard. She welcomed them to school. She said goodbye to them as they left for breaks and vacations. Some kids, more adults, gave her gifts for keeping them safe, for being who she was. Why was I ashamed? We make it halfway. The 2 lanes nearest our island are only for buses. At the end of the final 12 lanes, white stone buildings at home in Madrid or Paris. My mom has been to neither. I watch her smile as she pulls in everything new. Across the street we round a corner, passing under neon lights advertising visiting Broadway plays. School of Hard Rock is playing in one theater, Legally Blonde in another. Along a side street my mom stops at a display in the walkway. Footsteps to dance the tango. Her small foot traces the display, but she doesn't step on and match the polished stone illustration. Out of respect. Out of what others might think. It's difficult for me to pull her out of her comfort zone. Long have I tried. Rarely do I succeed. I make a promise to myself to take her to a tango show someday. The side street shrinks to 1 lane. We pass a hidden-away park and a statue of Castro in his military uniform standing on a balcony. We pass paintings of Argentina football legends. Most are kissing trophies and waving to crowds. I try to pull out small details that has taken me years to notice. Little clock towers above rooftops a tourist would have no reason to look over. Pillars of side buildings carved to look like knights holding up the earth. I have nobody else to share it with. Having somebody here with me is all I ask for. Inventing and drawing buildings landed me a few small college scholarships, though I eventually studied film and television. I started drawing Goofy and Boba Fett about the same time I tried to ignore my crossing guard mom, though she did anything but ignore my drawings. She championed my passion. She sent copies out to whoever could open doors. Star Wars and Disney doodles gave way to elaborate drawings of Gothic and Baroque cathedrals. I no longer draw much now, but I share with her the tiny details we pass all the same. Eventually, we come to our destination, a small, used English bookstore, a wooden door with a wide window to its side, showcasing recent acquisitions for sale. I press a buzzer. A moment later, the door opens and the owner welcomes us in. It smells of aged leather and parchment. Shelves are stacked floor to ceiling. A weathered rug sits in the middle of the tiny space, waist-high shelving on one side of the rug, and a circle table with specialty books on the other. My dad loved books when he was alive, had his own makeshift library. He rubber-stamped every one of his over 10,000 volumes, anointing each as property of Terry and Luann Ferguson. When he died, my mom did not want to let a single book go. They held as much of her husband's aura in them as any artifact he had left behind. I can't see her face as she takes it in, always looking, never touching. But I think she finds it comforting. A warm hug not received in a long time but always needed. I didn't ask about the lilacs. I don't need to ask about the books. We walk in a different direction when we leave. Street lamps are now on. There are fewer details for me to point out. I don't think she minds. She stays at my side. We stop at a popular restaurant, and I order a slice of Fugazzetta pizza. It's a local favorite, with stuffed cheese and crust and shaved sweet onions over top. I want to share it with her now because I've never been able to find anything similar back in the States. She doesn't need to like it. She can hate it. It doesn't take long to return to the apartment. I wish it took longer. As I press my key fob to the apartment building door, I turn, and my mom is no longer there. She never was. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't wish she could be there with me, walk the streets with me, share an ordinary day in the life with me. But that day will never come. She has her comfort zone, and I am unable to pull her out of it. It is something I've accepted, but if I let myself, I can picture her with me as I walk, as I point out my favorite building she'll never see, or the small details of buildings along the walk to a small bookstore she'll never visit. I pretend I can share a slice of pizza with her that I know she'll never taste. Sometimes the things I want most in life are the things I know I'll never have. I have to dream it to make it real. Though I wonder if there is more I can do to make it real. Or at least make it feel more real.